We're able to set aside the differences in party and politics and chambers and create something positive that's going to help this region. And so I tell you, yes, we will do that. And we'll set all those things aside, and we will reach an agreement on heroin. But they don't ask a young child or a person out there taking drugs what party they are of. We're going to reach solutions. We're going to deal with a lot of things like that. We did it a few years ago when Senator Thayer was the leader on Senate Bill 2 when we tried to do reforms to the pension system. So we're going to do that, but we do have differences. And some of the differences that we have that my group is going to push in the Senate, and you're going to be kind of interested to hear. I'm going to talk about tort reform as a practicing lawyer who just settled a pretty good case the other day. But I understand what we need to do to change the business environment. And then we also need to talk about comprehensive tax reform. Now I'm going to stand here as a Republican in Northern Kentucky and tell you we need more tax revenues. Everybody's going to look around like, what are you talking about? Well, let me tell you what I'm talking about. We want to create a code, and I'm going to go back to the bourbon industry and something we did 2 years ago. We want to create a tax code that no one in this room, not a single person in this room, is going to be exposed to any more taxes. But what we're going to see are more people in this room that are going to be paying taxes. We're going to enlarge and increase the base. We're going to put more people to work. And it's exactly the way we did it as we did it with the bourbon industry a few years ago by repealing some regulations, an antiquated tax code, the ad valorem tax on bourbon barrels. Now what have they done? $750 million of investment to where property taxes are going to go up because they've improved property, which is going to help the school systems, the cities, and the counties. 1,500 to 1,700 jobs, $91,000 per job. Think of all the income tax that's going to be generated, not because we expose them to more taxes. Actually, we expose them to less taxes. And we increased and broadened the base. That's the type of thing we're going to have to do. Those are the types of things we're going to have to see to make things happen so we can have the best and brightest teachers, the best law enforcement, the best emergency services. We create the tax base, then we'll be able to pay our people what they need and have the services that we demand. We're going to look at two major budgetary problems. One kind of dovetails into the CON problem. Well, we're looking at somewhere between 100 to 125 million. And I agree with Rocky, the revenue picture is looking up, but when we're looking at 100 to 125 million dollars of increased costs because we're now going to have to start paying for expansion of Medicaid that has been paid for by the federal government now. So we're going to look at 100 to 125 million dollars this year in the budget. And then the next year, another 125 million, approximately. It could go as high as 150 million each and every year, and potentially as high as $500 million before we're done covering the expansion of Medicaid. Well, that's going to take away from some of the services we're going to have to offer. It's just not going to be available. And then on top of that, we have several other things in the budget, and particularly the other large issue, which we were able to address one half and start movement on one half of it, but it is the Kentucky teacher retirement system. We know there is a problem. Do we know the depth of the problem? Not really. There's been a certain cloak of secrecy over there, and we're going to have to pull back the curtain. Because if we're going to send hundreds of millions of dollars to an agency for them to manage, and they're going to take hundreds of millions of dollars of our Kentuckians to manage as their match, we're going to have to know what they're doing over there. We're going to have to study and evaluate the problem. But as I sit here today, I tell you, and we all in this room that are involved in the legislative process know that we are going to have to make a significant contribution to the teacher retirement system. Now, how do we do that? We don't know, but we know there's going to have to be some systemic changes. We also know there's going to have to be some monetary contributions. And if we don't get those things under control, we're going to get to the point in time where 1 out of every $10 we collect in taxes is going to stabilize our pension systems. That can't be done. So when we go into this, I think everybody knows that we had disagreement about the bonding issue. It's not been proven to my satisfaction. There's numerous articles that the bonding for paying teacher pensions is really not a good solution. It may be the only solution, but we're going to look at it. We're going to go in depth. We're not taking anything off the board, but so far, to mine and my colleagues in the Senate, it hasn't really been proven as effective. And as I said, we don't want to go in the realm of increasing taxes, because I will leave you with this, and one of the reasons I want to finish with this. When I talk about the pension system and the problems, the tax code, the regulatory code, everything related to creating a business environment, we understand about Northern Kentucky that it is extremely sensitive here in this region, maybe more than any other region except for Jefferson County, if not as equal to Jefferson County, because you have competition from the north. And it's easily transferable, the capital and investment from this side of the river to the north side of the river. And so from my perspective and my colleagues in the Senate, we understand the need to have a good regulatory system, a good taxing system, good infrastructure, good medical care, good education, because it is very much in the day of instantaneous access to information and easily movable and transferable assets and personnel, that we have to have these things for Northern Kentucky to be competitive, and a real contributor they have been and will continue to be if we have this type of mechanism.